Hello, my darlings. I wanted to come on here and talk about something that's been on my mind for a very long time now. And it's not really directed to anybody, it's just what I've sort of gathered through either watching people's videos or through books and looking at online courses. I've been trying to make a mini course for myself on the focus of awakening the divine self. And I know that there are plenty of courses out there, and I decided to go against them because most of them don't really, for me, focus on awakening the divine self. They talk about awakening and working with the divine feminine and working with the goddess, but they hardly mention anything to do with the divine masculine or working with the god. And for me personally, if you want to awaken the divine self, you need to have the balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. For the divine self to be in its truest and purest form. And like I said, most of these don't really concentrate on the masculine side, they only focus on the feminine. And in a way I can understand that, because we've always had to, in a way, shut ourselves down. We weren't really allowed to embrace our feminine side. We weren't allowed to celebrate the goddess, and now we are living in a time when we can do just that. But I don't see why we can't celebrate and embrace and work with the feminine side while still celebrating the masculine side. It's as if to say that the masculine side is negative, which is not true at all. The masculine side brings, for me personally, the planning, organisation, the thought form, and the process that you've got to do to get things done in your day-to-day life. For me, the feminine side is all to do with our emotions, and to have a balance within ourselves, we need to balance both of them out. We can't shut off the masculine side, because there will be parts of us that will be needing that, and then again we can't shut off the feminine side because we need to allow our emotions to run free. It doesn't matter really if you are a female or male or whatever you classify yourself as. You really should try to find that balance between the two. I know for men sometimes it is difficult for you to open up about your emotions and everything like that. That's seen as a very off-putting thing for a man to do. It's sort of as if he shows his emotions, he's less of a man. But it doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you, in my eyes, more of a man, because you are allowing yourself to explore that and not be afraid to do that. I mean, if you have problems and issues with any of the gender, men or female, then this is something that's going to be really, really difficult for you. But I'm not trying to focus on those sort of people and situations. I'm focusing on the ones who don't really have an issue in the past or present with either gender. It's the ones that blatantly want to cut off men as if they are in a way worthless. I can't remember who it was, but they were saying about a Alana Fairchild book, I believe, how she was at the airport and a man started to look at her, and you know, she was getting a bit uncomfortable, and she decided to send out these pure energy thoughts towards him. And it was sort of like, reverse that, have that man change to a woman staring at her. How would that go about? She wouldn't have probably felt uncomfortable. She may have not sent pure energy thoughts out to a woman. It's as if we have to be afraid of men when they stare at us. For all we know, he could have been very, very innocent. He could have just recognised her from her oracle decks and all that. He could have just been thinking just how beautiful she actually is. He could have been a spiritual person and be seeing her aura and things like that around her. It doesn't necessarily mean that he is a predator and he's seen his target and he wants to attack. It's again, because he's a man, didn't make him pure, which I felt was insulting in a way, because why can't men be pure? Women can, so can men, really. Men aren't always aggressive and wanting to rip us apart, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to make myself heard. I've been trying to do this video for some time, and every time I get so passionate about it, I go off in a rant. And I'm trying to sort of put my thoughts in a nice order as much as I can. But yeah, I just feel in a way it's a bit insulting how we are not really mentioning anything to do with the divine masculine or to do with the god or any of the gods. It's as if we have to now block that out, because God has had his time and it's now time for the goddess. But to me, most of the gods haven't had their time because we've had to keep quiet about them as much as the goddess and all the other goddesses. And even then, we shouldn't really have to shut out the Abrahamic God. He is just as important than any other deity in my eyes. And if you think different, then you may have some things that you need to work out with that Abrahamic God and why you feel that. Because to me, all gods are equal. All gods have a good and bad and neutral side. And most of these books that are talking about the divine feminine and working with the goddess, they don't really mention which goddess. Now, for my assumption, they're only talking about the goddesses that are associated with Mother Nature, Gaia, love and healing and fertility and working with the family and those sort of goddesses. They never really seem to mention anything about the darker ones, like Kalalea. You know, she is a goddess that helps to face your fears. She wants you to explore that darker side. She wants to do it in a very loving way, but the way she does it to me is basically pushing me into the deep end and expecting me to swim on the first try. And it can be scary as hell. I am scared of Kalalea, but she is a goddess that I respect so much because of that because she can bring me that much fear, I want to run with it. I want to work with it. I want to find out why it is that I am scared of her. But many books do not explore the dark goddesses because it's not seen as something pure or loving. You know, it's not something in their ideal world. The light and loving and bliss and beauty and all the beautiful things. Everything is perfect. Everything is nice. Everything is in harmony and peace. These dark goddesses don't really resonate with that. And again, do these books and authors mention anything about the goddesses that are associated with a more masculine profession? Artemis, she's with hunting, and hunting again was seen as a very masculine profession back in the day. Brie, her craftsmanship is blacksmith, and again that was seen as a very masculine thing to do back then. But to me, it feels as if they cut off the masculine side of these deities, of these goddesses, and only stick with the more feminine side. And again, I feel that is very insulting to the goddess, because we should be accepting her in a full glory, whatever aspect she is in, whatever phase, whatever she approaches herself with us with, we should be accepting her. And I just feel very, very irritated by it. I also feel irritated about how it's the females versus the males in everyday life as well. I've heard a few people on here and in real life and other forums and all that saying about how men cannot be abused. Men cannot have domestic violence done to them. Men cannot be raped. And that really, really gets to me, because it's like, if you've been through any of those situations, you would not be saying that to anybody. It doesn't matter what your gender is, you do not say that. We already have a difficult time now when the victim is not believed. Nobody believes them anymore, because there's so many people now coming out about, oh, I only said this because I didn't want my boyfriend or girlfriend to find out that I slept with somebody else, so I said that person raped me. You know, it's really, really crappy and disgusting thing to do. It's also horrible when it is the man who's getting hit or emotionally or mentally abused, and when they decide to defend themselves, he is seen as the enemy. You know, he's seen as the villain because he lashed out at her, because he was defending himself. But nobody will believe him because he's a man. They will always tend to believe a woman because she's seen as the weaker sex. We are seen more as innocent beings. When I've just mentioned about the goddesses, the different aspect of the goddesses, you know, to me that shows that women don't always have to be the weaker sex. And it's not the case all the time. We can be as strong as we like. We can be as vicious and poisonous bitches whenever we want. You know, a lot of women feel like because they are a woman, they can get away with a lot of things. And it's now making it really difficult for people to come out to say that they were raped or they were abused, because who's going to believe them, you know? And for men, it's just as difficult, because then people will be like, why didn't you defend yourself? You're a man, you're stronger than her, you should have stopped her, you know? Or a man cannot be raped. He has a penis, women don't. A penis is a weapon. No, it's not. A man half the time cannot control when he gets an erection. You know, I mean, if they could control it, I'm pretty sure most of the awkward situations that they had to go through, they would not have went through. You know, their drinks could get spiked. You know, there's been a few CCTV footage being shown when a woman goes into a man's toilet in a pub or somewhere, and the man is trying to get away. She pushes him against the wall and tries to have sex with him. He's pushing away as gently as he could because he doesn't want to get in trouble, and he's trying to get away, but she keeps slamming him and slamming him against the wall. But people don't say that. People don't want to acknowledge, it seems, that a woman is capable of this. And it's disgusting how we think that, how we've always got to be, in a way, on our guard when it comes to men. And I'm guilty of that at times. I know. I try not to be. I try to trust my instinct a lot more. I have had a few issues with men in the past, which has made me a bit more judgmental. But like I said, if you've had issues with men or women in the past, this isn't really aimed towards you. It's aimed at the people or anyone or any situation that feels that men are less and deserve to have this sort of treatment done to them. I don't even know how this video is turning out. I'm just trying to sort of speak what's going on in my head and my heart at the moment. I'm just really disappointed, because most of these things that are being said that I've mentioned are coming from the spiritual and pagan community, when people see that we are all about the balance and all about seeing the truth and trying not to judge people. And yet we do exactly that when it comes to men. It's just, I don't know how we could change it. You know, it's just, I'm becoming more aware of it. And people are saying about feminism and all that. But to me, from what I've researched on, feminism is not just about female rights. It's about men's rights as well. It's about having both rights for both genders, or any gender, you know, or whatever you class yourself as. It's trying to be equal, and a lot of people take that feminism as a female rights, and we should be only focusing on the females and womanhood and embracing that, and just trying to ignore men and their rights and their emotions and how are they going in their daily life or spiritual life. And it's annoying when I read books as well about this, especially when I want to try to explore and awaken the divine self. There's hardly any information about the divine masculine, pardon me, and the information that I do find, it's only a little bit of information about the divine masculine, and then it goes on to the divine feminine. Whereas for the divine feminine, there's so much information, and yet there's hardly any information in that article about divine masculine. And you know, it's not that balanced to me, and I want to try and be as balanced as possible. I want to try and be as level-headed as I could and treat people the same way that I want to be treated. And it doesn't matter your gender to me. If you treat me respectfully, then I'll treat you respectfully. But if you treat me like a dirtbag, then I'm going to be like that with you. You know, but I feel like I've gone on for long enough, and I do hope that I made some sort of sense, and I do want to try and make more videos on when I'm starting my divine self sort of course and all that. It's just basically trying to work through some of the issues that I have from my feminine side, with my emotions, with my own menstrual cycle, and also to work with my masculine side to deal with these issues that I have with men, and to try and get through them and be better at it all, because I do want to be a mum one day, and I don't want to have this sort of judgment if we have a boy, you know. I want to try and be as a decent parent and not judge, not have any issues with men holding me back, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there, and yeah, bye.